Well, 83, 42 years ago. There you go. And this meeting is being recorded. So we're discussing this book, Sri Guru and His Grace, by His Divine Grace, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. And we come to chapter 10, and we're almost finished with this book. It has 160 pages, but a lot of that is filled up with uh, photos. There's a photo of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you know. It has, there's Baladev Vidibhushan. We worked very hard to get these photos. This was before the internet. We had to go to India. There's different four sampradayas: Ramanuj, Madhva, Nimbarka, and Vishnu Swami. And this morning we're discussing the the disciplic succession and instructing spiritual masters. And here in the Sanskrit, you can see it says, Evam param praptam, Evam parampara praptam, imam raja shayo vidu. This is from Bhagavad Gita, so that the paramparā is given. And, you know, you think about the problem of interpreting reality, and this is one of the big questions for philosophers: what's real? And then how do we know what's real? And then again, how do we know what we know? You know, how do we know what we know is real? And such things. Philosophers love to discuss these questions. And then by what process do we arrive at knowledge? And this is a branch of philosophy called epistemology. So it's an interesting problem because oftentimes we're confused about what we know and we make mistakes. We have imperfect senses. We're unable to interpret reality properly. So there's these different ideas about how to understand reality. For example, there's empiric knowledge, which we gather through the senses, but ultimately, the senses are imperfect. We think we know what vibrations are in the air in terms of sound, but you know, a bat or a dog has much better hearing sense than we do. Sometimes your dog will perk up suddenly and start to bark. And you think, well, what is there to bark about? There's nothing going on. But if you look out the window, you'll see 100 meters down the road, there's a dog. How did he perceive that? Well, his perception is different than ours. So also, a fly has thousands of eyes, so that when you go to swat a fly, um, they see you coming from 1,000 different angles, and the reaction time is immediate. So different animals, owls can see at night, or they're equipped with different levels of sense perception and can perceive things that are beyond our limited sense perception. Then there's ultraviolet light, infrared light. There's all these aspects of reality that while they're there, we're unable to perceive them. And then even when we put the top scientists on trying to understand the subtleties of matter, hard matter, with hard science and physics and mathematics, we discover that subatomic particles evade detection. In fact, whether they're seen as energy waves or physical particles uh, is determined by perception, according to Niels Bohr and the scientists of quantum physics, and borne out by our own Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, who recently passed away. He was a scientist. So, in the end, empiric knowledge falls apart, or our understanding of reality that's gathered through perception is seen as faulty. So then how do we get real knowledge? Well, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, evam paramparā praptam, that real knowledge not only is not about physical reality, but is received knowledge. It's received through divine revelation. This is basically what Krishna is telling us here. And the purpose of the paramparā is to transmit that information. Srila Sridhar Maharaj often compared this to a telescopic system by saying, well, you can't see everything clearly. You need a telescope. So each guru in the line is like a special kind of lens that brings divine reality more in focus. So you could say, well, there's the lens of Brahma Dev, who is God himself, the creator of the universe. And that's a pretty powerful revelation of reality. But maybe even his divine revelation is a bit too far away from us. It's hard for us to see that. So we need another telescopic lens, which is that of Narada Dev, the great preacher of Krishna consciousness since time immemorial. And then again, Narad, he may be difficult to interpret. So we have Vyas, and Vyas gives us the 4 Vedas, the 108 Upanishads, the 18 Puranas, the Mahabharata, and finally, of course, the ripened fruit of the Vedic desire tree, which is the Bhagavatam. And then it goes to Madhva. And you might ask, well, why not Shukadev? Why isn't Shukadev included in the paramparā? After all, he is a student. He's the son of Vyasadeva, supposedly. He's a student of Vyasadeva. Who better to carry on the tradition? Why does it go to Madhva? Well, if you want the version of Shukadev, we read Vyas. Vyas has written down the version of Shukadev. Also, Shukadev Goswami, he's not an acharya in the sense that we can follow his example. The example of Shukadev Goswami is impossible to follow because he wanders about naked and in silence and only opens up when Parikshit Maharaj really demands that of him. Also, Shukadev Goswami is not known to have any disciples, so it goes to Madhva. And Madhva is considered to be inspired by Vyasadeva in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And it's considered that he had some kind of divine, intimate relationship, as if Vyas was a prophet who appeared before him. So it goes direct from Vyas to Madhva. And then you have this long line of followers of Madhvacharya, sannyasis, who followed his line. And we get sannyas names also from them, like Nrihari, Madhava, Akshobhya, Jayatirtha, Gyanasindhu, Dayanidhi, Vidyanidhi, Rajendra, Jayadharma, Brahmanyatirtha. And then there is Vyasatirtha and Lakshmipati. And after Lakshmipati, there's Madhavendra Puri. So, in a sense, we can really trace our line from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And our point of view, our claim is that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God himself. So if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, the idea that there's a formal line that comes from Krishna to Brahma to Narada to Vyas to Madhva, it's mooted by the idea that God himself comes as Sri Chaitanya. In other words, we could say our entire religion, our sect, our cult, it begins with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that would be fine. There's no problem with that because the idea is yada yada hi dharmasya. God appears and distributes divine knowledge, and he does so as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is respecting the formality of having a Guru Dev, and he's respecting the line, and he's showing this is the Hall of Fame of Vaishnava gurus, just like a football club will have in Argentina, a football club will say, well, the man who began our football club was Diego Maradona. Come and study with us. Or in Brazil, they'll say, who started this club was Pele. Or in, I don't know, who's the big star in Ireland or England. I don't really follow that football over there. But in the United States, we have baseball. So the Yankees team would say, well, we have Babe Ruth and we have Joe DiMaggio, and that's in our Hall of Fame. Or the Dodgers will say, you know, there was Don Drysdale and Sandy Koufax from the 1962 World Series, and then there was Fernando Valenzuela. So we have our Hall of Fame members in the Sampradaya or the paramparā. And in our Hall of Fame, we have God, the creator, Lord Brahma, the four-headed creator of the universe. And we have Narada and Vyas, and then Madhva. Why Madhva particularly? Well, there's two reasons why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts this line. The main reason is Madhavendra Puri, because Madhavendra Puri sort of discovers the worship of Radha and Krishna before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's a great prophet in that sense. Just like the Christians, they have John the Baptist before Jesus Christ, who's proclaiming the kingdom of heaven. So Madhavendra Puri is an interesting figure because it is said that when Nityananda Prabhu was at home with Harai Pandit, one day a sannyasi came and said, I need someone to help me. Can I have this boy? And Nityananda Prabhu went with that sannyasi. And after that, we don't know anything about Nityananda Prabhu except that he's traveling. He visited different holy places. And then he comes to Navadvip and meets with Nimai Pandit. But it is thought, it has been claimed that that sannyasi was Madhavendra Puri. And so the line to Madhavendra Puri goes through Nityananda Prabhu and also through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's how strong Madhavendra Puri is. And if you trace back the line from Madhavendra Puri, he's a follower of Madhva. All those sannyasis we just named, they follow Madhva. And Madhva is important because he refutes Shankaracharya's oneness. Shankaracharya wants to say everything is one. I'm God, you're God, we're all God. There is no material world. It's just Maya. Therefore, they're called Mayavadis. That's their conclusion. But Mud was different. He said, no. God is God and the soul is the soul. There's a division there. There's a duality. You're not God. I'm not God. The material world, it's real. And I'm not the material world. I'm soul. So there's this threefold distinction between soul and God, soul and the world and God, uh, like that. And this is promoted by Madhva, especially in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita. So it comes to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this is celebrated in a song that was written by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, where he says, Krishna hoite chatur mukha, hoy Krishna sevan mukha, Brahma hoite Narada Dhira, Narada hoite Vyas, Madhva kohe Vyasadas, Purna pragya, Padmanabha hira, Nrikari Madhava Bhakti, Akshobhya Tattva Bhakti, Jayatirtha Jnana Sindhu Dar, Doya Nidhi Bharati, Vidya Nidhi Tangoati, Rajendra Puri Bhakti Bara, Sri Krishna Brahmatirtha Puri Madhava Nugrahita, Sri Padmanabha Madhava, Sri Nasringa Tirtha Madhava Krishna Prishta, Jaya Dharma Vyasa Tattva Purushottama Veda Vyas, Jnana Sindhu Dayapas, Lakshmipati Madhva Tirtha Pran, Madhavendra Puri Bhagya, Ishwara Puri Bhagya, Premananda Bhakti Rasadam, Sri Chaitanya Ishwara, Premara Avatar, Sri Advaita Nityananda Sat, Sri Vasari Bhakta Gana, Shuddha Prema Rasadama, Radha Krishna Nama Sankirtan Pat, Rupa Sanatana Bhumi, Bhujite Prema Kumi, Raghunatha Jiva Gopal Bhatta, Raghunatha Dasa Swami Sri Jiva Prabhudhami, Prema Bhakti Prachara Pata, Sri Bhakti Rakshaka Sridhar, Guru Varga Sribara, Raghanuga Dhara Jivana, Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya, Rupanuga Janara Jivan. You can see they put Srila Sri Ramarsha's position in the Guru Varga at the end. But this ends with the line that Sri Ramarsha will quote. So, chapter 10, instructing spiritual masters. And so I'm going to read now from the book. A devotee asks, can you explain how the principle of disciplic succession works? I was under the impression that in your teaching, there must be an unbroken chain of disciplic succession, beginning with God himself, in order for the knowledge to be properly understood. But when I read Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, I found that the disciplic succession contained only 38 names, although it says that the system is 50 centuries old. Is this a complete list, or are some names left out? How are we to understand these apparent historical discrepancies? And Sri Ramar says, our Guru Parampara, disciplic succession, follows the ideal, not the body. It is a succession of instructing spiritual masters, not formal initiating spiritual masters. In a song about our Guru Parampara, written by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, it is mentioned Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nakayanya, Rupanuga Janara Jiva. The highest truth of Krishna consciousness comes through the channel of śikṣā gurus, instructing spiritual masters. Those who have the standard of realization in the proper line have been accepted in the list of our disciplic succession. It is not a Diksha Guru Parampara, a succession of formal initiating gurus. Diksha, or initiation, is more or less a formal thing. The substantial thing is śikṣā, or spiritual instruction. And if our śikṣā and diksha gurus, or instructing and initiating spiritual masters, are congruent, then we are most fortunate. There are different gradations of spiritual masters. In the scriptures, the symptoms of the guru and the symptoms of the disciple have been described. The guru must be qualified in so many ways, and the disciple must also be qualified. Then, when they come in connection, the desired result will be produced. So I'd just like to stop for a moment, and I feel strange just talking and talking and talking. I'd like to see if there's any questions or comments from you all, because you all are brilliant spiritual seekers in your own right. I know everyone on this Zoom call has spent years reflecting and thinking about these things and praying on them, as they say. So I don't want to have the last word, but, well, what do you think about this? What is your reflection? Let's start with Pranashish. He usually has something interesting to volunteer.
Do you remember a few years ago, there was a little conversation about the big guru and the little gurus?
Yeah.
And the conclusion was that there's no little gurus and they're all big gurus. And
yeah, really? They're all big gurus. Well, look, Srila Sridhar, in regard to the no big gurus and no little gurus, that's an interesting point. I've heard that, but I can't focus on it for the moment, Right. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Srila Sridhar Maharaj always used to say there's gradation everywhere. And he would hit on that point again and again and again in every respect. Whenever he talked about any subject, he'd like to bring that out. There is gradation. In other words, we don't really follow, Madhva exactly and say, well, there's an absolute division. It's black and white. It's this or it's that. Srila Sridhar Maharaj liked Achintya Beta Tattva, Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. There is distinction, but it's more subtle than it appears at first glance. So it's one. It's all the same thing. All gurus are big gurus. all gurus are doing the same thing, sure. But there may be subtle differences. There may be gradation. And we don't like to, you don't like to say big and small exactly. Maybe that's not where the gradation is. Um, your son's football game is probably the most important football game ever played on the planet, right? But there's no small football, right? But relatively speaking, maybe the World Cup, plays into it as the great football game, you know? Your mother is the best mother. There is no other good mother better than your mother, right? My mother is the best mother. There are no small mothers, right? They're all big mothers. They're all big mothers. But maybe, the president of your country will give an award to the mother of the year. And you'll see, well, she really sacrificed a lot. She really distinguished herself in a big way. So you can look at that kind of quote in that way. There are no big gurus. Uh, if divine knowledge is being transmitted to me, then I have no quibble with that. I can't say that's not a good thing. Uh, that divine knowledge is divine. It enlightened me. So who am I to question how great my guru is relative to other gurus? But still, Srila Sri Ramakrishna will point out there is tatasta vichar. So in the line coming from Madhva, say, for example, there are all these different sannyasis, and they're famous. Their name is engraved in stone, and yet we know nothing about them, But they're in the Hall of Fame, But you've got Lord Brahma, Narada, Vyas, who are like the all-time Hall of Fame acharyas above and beyond, something like that. So it may be that, the local guru who's giving out beads and telling people, chant Hare Krishna and be happy, uh, is the most important thing that ever happened in, Cape Town, South Africa, or Canberra, Australia, or, North Chirping, Sweden. But is he in the Hall of Fame? Maybe not, What do you think, Pranashish?
Yeah, it's everything is fine until it's not. For example, let me say that I met a Western guru in England a few years ago. I'd never been to India. I'd never met the devotees before. I met this local devotee householder couple, and I've been going to visit them for a few months, and I'm really into it. And I've been to a Ratha Yatra festival, we say, in London, and and then someone says, "Look, this man is giving it Harinam initiation. That's fine, okay. I'll take from him." And then the next year I go to Mayapur for the big Gaur Purnim festival, and maybe I meet someone there who really, really inspires me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this man is really inspiring me, and I've never heard these things before, and I'm understanding so much more. Um, but I have to go back to my little guru now, because back to my little small town and my little guru and my little community, and what do I do? Now, that's just a simplistic take on it. What I really mean is that if you actually meet a Vaishnava who inspires you as much as, or it may be even more than your actual guru, this can pose a problem for somebody, let's just say.
Sure. So that's the whole concept of śikṣā then. See, the idea, what Srila is saying here, in a certain sense, initiation into a particular club, to continue my football metaphor, where the coach who first tossed you the ball and taught you how to run, he will always be important, right? But then when you're playing professionally and you have a professional doctor and a professional coach and other team players who are on an international level, you will remember the guy who first tipped you the ball fondly, but maybe you end up taking instruction from a different teacher. And that doesn't mean that you have betrayed your original teacher, but at the same time, we do not need to be absolutely bound by the formality of a particular institutional teacher.
Yeah,
Something like, right?
this happened a few times during Śikṣā Maharaj's time, because, nobody had heard of him, nobody had met him. And then when people started to meet him, they were very much influenced in a positive way. And how he used to handle it was, he would request you get a letter from your guru or from your spiritual guide, and you request that it's okay to speak with me or not. And Guru Maharaj really placed a lot of emphasis on the letter of recommendation. Even coming to the Mutt the first time, you brought a letter from Goswami Maharaj in San Jose, you brought a letter from somebody in New York, you brought a letter from some devotee in your neighborhood who had some name, and you went to Navadip, and once you had that letter, everything was fine.
Yes, he didn't want to disturb other missions, and he could see there may be some problem if people come to me for advice. So I'm going to be very cautious about how I let people in. His first filter was Govinda Maharaj, and then there was that letter. So yeah, he didn't just want anybody. He wasn't interested in canvassing, as he would put it. And, some devotees, they put all their attention on gathering more followers and not even paying attention to the old followers. Like, these old guys, they don't really matter anymore because they're not bringing in the rupees, they're not bringing in the dollars and the rupees, these old, burned out refugees from Krishna consciousness. They're not doing it. But the young people, we have to capture them. So the emphasis is always on getting 15, 16, 17-year-old people involved in mass movement. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he wasn't interested in that. He liked it that his disciples and followers were educated. If he found out, oh, you went to the university, you have a bachelor's degree, he was relieved. He thought, this is good. I don't want unqualified people to surround me. And so what about Tapanandini? She's just hanging out there. I know you're out there. Teresa Lorette Mola, come in. Can you hear me? Are you there? I think the guru is absolute. She has the comment.
Dandavas Mahayogi, I just wrote some commentary about about our position through and the guru. When you start asking me, I wasn't able to finish it, but I will try to talk about this. I think the Guru is absolute. It is revealed in the Uddhava Gita when the Avadu talk about how much he have learned even from a pigeon. But you have to get rid of your prejudices to have a right reading of the environment. Otherwise, you will always be searching your own tail. Love is everywhere. Can we see it? Krishna is behind everything. Are we aware of that? All the time? We know that maybe we receive some insult. Maybe we receive some prize. That it's everything is coming to you for something. For something you have to go inner you. You have to search inside you what it is right, what it is wrong, on how you have to oppose to that idea, because or how you have to accept it. That it is depend absolutely only in our sincerity. If we are sincere, then our guru will teach us and we will be able to learn from our guru. Our guru, sometimes we need the physical appearance of our guru, but when after he give us his glance full of mercy, after we receive that mercy, then we have everything will respond to our necessity of learning. That is my idea of guru. Please tell me, I don't know if it's right or wrong. Bandabats to all.
Well, that's a very beautiful reflection, Tapanandini. It's always nice to hear from you. How about Adwai? Do you have anything you'd like to contribute? Adwai Krishna Prabhu up in Cooley, Ireland. This is being recorded. I think
No,
I know
it's just so many interesting points that are pointed out by you and the other devotees. Many things come to my head, but then I wouldn't I wouldn't know what to say to. I don't know. It's very like Tapanandini was saying, Guru is absolute, but Shri Guru is absolute. But then there's very relative stages. It's like, I don't know, it comes to me an example of one of Prabhupada's disciples. It was an Indian boy. He came to Krishna consciousness through Madhav Maharaj. But at the time, Prabhupada was the big deal. You know, this big guru coming from the West with loads of converted guys. And so eventually, he took initiation from Prabhupada. But after a while, he still found that Madhav Maharaj was his actual mentor. So he went over to Prabhupada and he asked Prabhupada, look, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I still think that Madhav Maharaj is my guide. And Prabhupada said, go to him. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. So it's, I don't know, sometimes it's not so easy to say absolute or relatives. And we know that Prabhupada and Madhav Maharaj didn't really get along that well. But still, Prabhupada said, you know, if you think that he is the man for you, I'm more than happy to say, go to him and he will guide you properly. So it's always very not easy. It's, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj put it, it's an eternal, you know, search, and we will keep asking this question eternally and talking about these things, and that is actually healthy. It's not healthy when it comes to, oh, he doesn't have that picture on the altar, so I'm not going to go to his temple. Or when it comes to that things, then I get really scared because it becomes sectarian, it becomes cultish, and then I'm not into that so much. But when these things are discussed gently and with respect, then I like to listen to them. Sorry, I took too much time.
No, it's nice to hear the sound of your voice. You know, I think you were all very fortunate and blessed to have had the association that you have had. You know, in this small circle, we have people who knew and worked with or served Govinda Maharaj, Srila Sri Ram Maharaj, and others who gave their life and service very sincerely in Krishna consciousness. So it's nice to hear the sound of your voice. I don't like to take your time, so thank you for that, Advaya Krishna Prabhu. Hari Priya, would you like to add anything or subtract anything?
But my consideration is that like in reflection and thinking about the Bhagavad Gita, it shows all the different paths to serve Krishna, so many different ways. And I think that your guru will find you, and that will be your path. So yeah, and as far as the disciplical succession, I've never considered it to be like a familiar legacy. It's given by God. The inspiration to the guru is given by God, so it comes from God. It doesn't come from the previous guru. It's just a continuing lesson and instruction directly from Lord Krishna to the gurus. And if they miss a few generations in between, that's not, that doesn't matter, because it's not a father son whatever succession. It's a succession from Krishna. So I can't really explain it because I'm thinking of it in a diagram, but I'm thinking of, instead of it passing down the succession, it's coming directly from the Lord. It's like the rays of the sun are reaching out to each guru with their instructions to pass on to the devotees. So that's all I'd like to say.
Well, that's very well put, Hari Priya, because you see, on the one hand, we're showing people, well, okay, this is the Hall of Fame. You know, these are the players that we've had on our side, if you like. You know, these are the great thinkers in our line. Srila Sri Ramakrishna makes the example of, he says there's Galileo, Newton, and Einstein. He says, think of it like that. But of course, those are three very different people with different points of view, you know. And yet you can say, well, okay, they made a contribution. So on the one hand, we're saying this knowledge is descending, and we can show you, here's the line where it descends. But as you point out, in a very real way, it's not about that. It's about God now, appearing now through you, through Guru Dev, whoever that might be, you know. There's a personal connection. But the idea is we feel that our understanding of divinity comes through revealed knowledge, revealed truth, and that revelation takes place personally and through love and in connection with Guru Dev. Something like that. And everyone is saying, well, I don't have the words for this. And it's interesting because I'm, working on a few different projects and trying to ferret out points of view that might be useful for me, in my own spiritual development. And I came upon something the other day I was looking at. I was thinking about Wittgenstein, and his point of view seems to be that philosophy is a kind of a trap because it relies on words, and words in the end lose their meaning. So you can't find out the truth through philosophy. And I thought, well, this man appears to be more or less an atheist. But later I thought, no, he's discovered something that the Mahabharata says, where it says, Tarko Pratishta Shrutayo Vibhina, that you can argue endlessly and never come to the truth. You can look at the scripture and it will have all these different ideas. So the real thing is to connect with a Mahajan, or a great souled spirit who can reveal the truth to us. And I kind of liked that. And then I thought, what Wittgenstein is saying here, it's not really very different from Lao Tzu and the Tao, which was popular back in the 60s when I was a kid, where they said the Tao that can be spoken is not the Tao that can be known and all that. It's very mystical. But in a real way, I concluded that, yeah, words fail us. I sit here on Sunday and speak a lot of words, but this is why we have the Hare Krishna mantra. This is why we have the Gayatri mantra. We have these mantras that reveal to us through our own practical meditation what reality is. And we can know that also in connection with greater souls. The paramparā exists to give you a sort of backing, to say what you're realizing here has been seen before by other great souls. It's just like you can play the Irish tin whistle, you can have a lot of fun with it. Or you can see, well, wait a minute, there's a tradition here. You can be someone who plays by ear and just gets the lilt of the melody. Or you can say, well, wait a minute, there were composers. They wrote these tunes down, and I can learn them by reading the notes. But however you approach that, the important thing is the inner music. Where's the music coming from? It's coming from the heart. Something like that. And we're all tuned into the Hare Krishna mantra. So I don't really feel like reading anymore this morning because it will just circle back to what we were saying. So I'm going to leave it there and consider that we gave 1 good hour of meditation and katha to the Hare Krishna community that gathers under the banner of Sridhar Maharaj and Sri Guru and His Grace, and Pranashish and Suvasini, Meenakshi Sundaram, and all these great souls. Tapanandini, we're so glad to hear from you and see you again, and good luck in your projects. We saw some of your recent artwork, and it's just really brilliant. It's really coming from the heart. And that's all I have to say for today. So Hare Krishna, everybody, and good luck. Keep us posted. Hare Krishna. Dandavats to all of you, and Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai, Mahayogi Prabhu ki jai. My dandavats to all the devotees.